Okay, so we're up to Daf Samach Gimel Amid Beis. We're towards the end of the Amid Tanur Rabbanon. Loichim beyim min ha'oiv dekichavim b'chol makom. This is how we paskin. You're allowed to buy eggs from a guy, and we're not concerned that the eggs come from a treifa, the eggs come from nevela. Meaning you can buy chicken eggs, and we're not concerned that the chicken eggs are come from a treifa chicken or a nevela chicken. Now why? So Rashi and the Mefarshim explain because roiv chicken eggs come from kosher chickens. There's no reason to be chayshish that it comes from a nevela or a treifa. So says the Gemara, I understand that you're not chayshish for nevelas and treifas. I get that. But why aren't you chayshish that it's a non-kosher egg? And the species of non-kosher birds, there are a lot of them. Now, there are only 24, but if you count their family groups, it's a lot. So the question is, I get that you're not chayshish for nevelas and treifas, but why aren't you chayshish that it's an ostrich or that it's an eagle? So says the Gemara, Amar Avu de Shmuel, the case is where the farmer identifies the bird that he got it from. Meaning, the farmer doesn't just say it's a kosher bird, because as we'll see in a moment, he's not Neman to say that, but he's able to say it came from that kosher bird. Now, the reason why he's Neman, even though Goyim don't have Nemanis, is because something that is easily figure-outable, something that you could easily investigate. So if he says it comes from that chicken, so you'll take an egg that he's selling, and you'll go to that chicken, and you look at the egg, and if they don't look alike, then obviously this is a concept in halacha that while we don't trust goyim when it comes to edus, but if it's something that is very clear to figure out on your own, we do trust them because no one wants to be caught instantly as a liar. So if he's able to identify which chicken it comes from, he says it comes from. Oh, there you go. No.
Which chicken or what type of bird?
You joined for a second.
Which chicken?
He's able to say he's able to say which species. He's able to say it comes from this kosher species. So says the Gemara, V'lei mishalif Torah. And the Gemara just speaks out. Why can't he just say it's kosher without identifying, the species? The answer is because then he can get out of it. Because if he's caught as a liar, he can be like, oh no, I didn't mean that one, I meant that one, I meant that one, I meant that one, and therefore he can get out. So it has to be that he's able to identify which species it comes from. Says the Gemara, V'livdaik b'simanim. Here's the kasha. This is going to take us into the next Amid. The whole point is that he comes and he says he's selling these eggs, and he says it comes from a kosher chicken. So we say he's believed because you're able to figure out. Aren't there simanim for kosher eggs? The same way there's simanim for birds. For animals, which is chewing its cud and split hooves, and there's simanim for fish, which is fins and scales. There's simanim to know which eggs come from kosher animals and non-kosher animals. This is in a moment. So why don't you just check the eggs? So why do you have to say that you have to trust the guy? Forget about the guy. Look at the eggs. There are simanim of eggs. Says the Gemara, there are simanim of eggs. And the Gemara says, what are the simanim of eggs? The same as simanim of fish. Now wait a minute. Simanim of fish are fins and scales. There's no fins and scales on eggs. It says the Gemara, simani dagim sol gedaitach. Snafi v'kaskesses amarachmana. Ela ema. Kach simani uvrei dagim. No, what it means is like this. The same simanim of kosher eggs of birds is the same simanim of kosher eggs of fish. Roe. What are the simanim of the eggs? The Tani Gabi. This is the Bryce that says the simanim for eggs. These are the eggs simanim. Elu simanim beim. Kol shekaideres vagugelis. It has to be round and spherical. Meaning it's not square. It's not triangle. It has to be round. Roisha echad v'roisha echad kad. One top is a little pointier than the bottom, as you see with eggs. They're not perfectly round, but they're not pointed like a football. The top is a little bit more pointy than the bottom. Tahira, that's the sign of a kosher chicken, a kosher egg. But shnei reshakadin, or shnei reshachadin. But if it's completely round or shaped like a football, then tameim, it's a non-kosher bird. Now, when you open it up, let's say the egg, the shell is broken, so I don't have the shell anymore. So you can actually tell from the way it's formed inside. If the white is on the outside and the yolk is in the inside, tahira, that's the sign of a kosher chicken. But if it's the opposite, the yolk is outside of the white. I guess there's the white over here and the yolk is next to it, I guess outside of it. That is tameya, that's the sign of a non-kosher bird. I don't know, yeah, evidently. Or on the outside of it, it's next to each other, whatever. And then chalbayin v'chalbayin me'uravin, if they're mixed together, biudushu sheretz. That's a sheretz. That's a creepy crawly or a snake or a lizard. That's I was gonna chat GPT about like a Metzias of it, but I didn't have time yesterday and sitting there for 12 hours doing nothing. I didn't have time. Says the Gemara, so the kasha is like this. Why are you saying that we're Neman, we're trusting the guy? Forget about the guy. Look at the shape of the egg. Is it shaped like a football? Is it shaped like a baseball? Is it shaped like an egg, like a kosher egg? So just check the egg. So says the Gemara, the case is where the egg is broken. The shell is broken. He's selling eggs, but the shell's broke, so we can't check the shells. So says the Gemara, but then look at the white and the yolk. We said that the yolk inside, the white outside is a sign of a kosher chicken, vice versa is a non-kosher bird, so just check the yolk. So says the Gemara, betrufais bekara. The case is he's selling scrambled eggs. He's selling eggs that are scrambled. So I guess he has to be able to identify which bird it came from. You have to take that bird, scramble the eggs, and see if it looks the same. Yes. But here's the problem though. So you're telling me the case is the guy is selling scrambled eggs, not cooked scrambled eggs, just whipped, the white and the yolk together. So there's no way to be baidik the simanim. You have to trust him. Here's the problem. The rule was you were never allowed to buy scrambled eggs from goyim. Why? Because whenever a Jew had a treifa chicken egg, what do you do if it's treif? Can't sell it to a Jew, sell it to a guy. The problem is, the fear is, the guy then is going to resell it back to Yidden. So what the Jews would do is they would scramble it, then sell it to goyim. And it was known, you do not buy scrambled eggs from goyim because there's a treif or nevela. So the question is, how could it be the case is where it's scrambled? If it's scrambled, you're not allowed to buy from a guy. So says the Gemara, are you allowed to buy from a guy scrambled eggs? Vatanya, but doesn't the Brisa say you're not allowed to sell a treifa egg to a guy? Why? Because they're going to resell it to Yidden. So what do? You're going to have treifa eggs. What are you going to do? You're going to lose the money. You have to beat it in a bowl, meaning you have to scramble it. Then you could sell it to guy. And it was known, and therefore it was known that we do not buy scrambled eggs from guy because it was a sign that it was a treifa. So the kasha is, why? So again, back to the original kasha. The guy comes and sells you eggs. We said that he's Naman because he could identify which bird it is. The question is, why do you need this for? Look at the shape of the egg. He says, oh no, it's scrambled. If it's scrambled, it was Max. Max stuck his head in for a second. But if it's scrambled, you don't buy it from a guy. So what's the case? It says the Gemara, El Amr Zera Simanim Lav Deiraisa. The answer is the simanim of eggs are not biblically recognized. This concept that there's a shape to the egg and all these achin, that was just an observation that the Rabbana made. It's not an actual thing min HaTorah. You can't. It's not simanim on a biblical level that you could trust on your own. It's just an observation Chazal made that's the sign of a kosher chicken. That's the sign of not kosher. But you can't rely on it. So therefore, you need to rely on the guy. So here's the kasha though. If you can't rely on it, then why did they say it? Right? They made an observation, and it was written down in a brisa, but you're telling me halachically it has zero relevance. So what's the point?
This is basically still how you know it's not treif that you got from Jew.
What do you mean? In general? Yeah. Well, I guess, yeah, Yidden also they'll have to identify. Yeah, that's the point also, I guess. So what's the point? It really comes down to it. So what's the point? If it's not something that we biblically recognize, then what's the point? So says the Gemara, I'll prove it to you, that Simanim are lav d'oraisa, Dilote mahachi, hadam ravasi shmonas fekas hein, livdik bebeim dedu, l'shmaminas lav d'oraisa. So the Gemara says, I'll prove it to you. If you remember 2 days ago, we said that there are 8 birds that are a suffix whether they're kosher or not. The chagur, the kuk, whatever the lashon, we had a whole list. The question, what's the suffix? Check their eggs. Right, we're not sure whether they have the siman of kasher. So let's say that it peels, like the kurkuban peels, but use a knife. Check the eggs. If you're telling me the eggs is a biblically mandated thing,
But not only that, eggs would have been some kasher for birds.
correct. Meaning, in other words, that's exactly the point. Why are their whole thing that there's a Messiah for birds? You need a Messiah in the 24th. Just check the eggs. The answer is eggs simanim are lav d'oraisa. Says the Gemara. Elamai hilchas katanila. Then what's the point of them? So I'll say it now, so we'll say this. The Gemara says, the purpose of the simanim of eggs is very simple. If you have non-kosher simanim, it's for sure a treifa. Meaning, if you have an egg that's round, that's for sure not kosher. I could stop you right there. If it has the proper shaped eggs, then we could talk. Then if the guy mentions that it comes from a kosher bird, then he's nema. So it's not that the simanim can kasher it, but they can treif it up. So says the Gemara, Hachikama, this is what we meant to say. Shnei Roshen Kadin, or Shnei Roshen Kadin. If you have an egg that's shaped like a baseball or shaped like a football, which are non-kosher shaped eggs, then or the yolk is on the outside. Then they're for sure not kosher. Meaning what the simanim tell you are observations enough to tell you what is for sure no good. Reish echad, v'reish echad kad. But if it's shaped like a kosher chicken egg, then it doesn't mean it's automatically kosher, because we're not soymech on simanim. Then the halach is and the guy says, in addition to having the proper shaped eggs, the guy also says it came from a kosher chicken. Then samach aleo. Then you can rely on him. So it's sort of like you use it as like a backup to help motivate you when the guy says what he says. But bistama. But if let's say there's no guy, or you don't know, the guy doesn't remember, but it has the proper shaped chicken eggs, it's not enough. Because there are some non-kosher eggs that might look like it. So it can't kosher it, but could treif. Says the Gemara, okay, good. Now we said before that if the yolk is in the inside and the white is the outside, that's a chicken, that's a kosher egg. But any other deviation from that is no good. So we said if the yolk is on the outside and the white is inside, that's non-kosher bird. And if the yolk and the white are somehow mixed together, that's a sheretz. Let me ask you a question. What's the nafkamina that it's a sheretz? Once you tell me, if the yolk's not on the inside, it's no good, does it make a difference to know whether it's a sheretz or whether it's an eagle? What's the nafkamina? It's all usher. Oh. So it says the Gemara, what do I care that it's a sheretz? So the Gemara says, maybe it's from my father said, which is, what if there's a crack in the egg, and you put your finger inside and you touch something? So if it's a sheretz, then it's metame. Oh, because sheretz is metame on the bone the size of a lentil. Okay, very good. That could be the chiluk. Here's the problem though. Not every sheretz is a sheretz that gives off of tumah. You know what also has the same situation egg-wise? A snake. A snake egg also is like that. A snake is not matama. It's not part of the shmoyne shratzim. It's only 8 shratzim. So here's the problem. You told me that it's a sheretz, but who cares that it's a sheretz? You say, oh, because of tumah. But not every sheretz gives off tumah. So I'm not automatically tummy. So it says the Gemara, if the egg began to form an embryo and its shell was pierced, so you put your finger in, you touch something, it's metama chadasha. It's metama the size of a lentil. Here's the problem though. It says the Gemara, maybe it's a snake. Snake is a sheretz, but it's not metama. Maybe, I don't know. I was thinking the same thing. Okay. Yeah, but maybe. The Gemara says, El Amarava, Shem Rikma Va'achla, Loikalem Shem Sheretz HaSheretz Haaretz. The case is, what malchus do you get? Meaning, if I ate it. If it's a non-kosher bird, then I'll get lashes for eating a non-kosher oif tameh. If it's a sheretz, I'll get lashes for a sheretz.
Same lashes, but you don't know. It's still a subject of either way.
No. So no, meaning it's not a subject of If I see that the white and the yolk are mixed, then it's in the category of sheretz, I'll get lashes for sheretz. Sheretz ha-sheretz ala-aretz. You don't have to know which sheretz it is. It's just I know that it's a sheretz and it's not. No, that's what I'm saying. You got hasra.
You don't know for what. You know what day it is.
So apparently, knowing that it's in the category of sheretz is enough to get lashes for ha-sheretz ala-aretz, which is the.
You don't know, right?
No. So his point is, knowing that the white and the yellow are mixed, I don't know which sheretz it is, but I know it is a sheretz. So I'll get lashes for sheretz. So says the Gemara, wait a minute. So you're telling me that, I'm sorry, actually not, I don't know if you get lashes. The problem is, so you're telling me that it's aser. So it's really to tell you to get lashes. So here's the kasha though. Ihachi, if you're telling me that there's, now, basically what we've made it now is we're no longer concerned of just the egg. We're concerned about an embryo growing. So if it's a sheretz, I'll get lashes for a sheretz. And if it's a non-kosher bird, then I'll get lashes for a non-kosher bird. And if it's a kosher bird, are you allowed to eat an egg that develops, that's beginning to develop in an embryo? No, the halach is very simple. Our eggs are unfertilized, so put our eggs aside because they're never going to turn into an embryo. But let's say old school eggs, a rooster and an egg and a hen have a baby, the egg. If you catch it before it develops, you can make scrambled eggs. If you let it wait, you have to let it wait to be a fully full chicken, and then you shecht it. If you catch it in between stage, it's usher also. So the implication of the brisa is that, there's like, oh, it's a sheretz, that's going to be usher. Oh, if it's an oftami, that's going to be usher. But if it's of tahar, it's allowed. But if you're telling me now we're worried about embryonic stage, isn't it usher by all of it? So says the Gemara, Ihachi, my area tzmeya, afil taranami. So yeah, maybe, and by the way, so you're going to get lashes in either way. Maybe for different lavin, but the brisa implies, the brisa started off by making it sound like it's much worse that it's a sheretz than if it's a kosher bird. So if it's talking about stop making scrambled eggs, yeah, totally. Sheretz is usher, kosher bird is totally mutter. But now you're telling me it's embryonic stage. Isn't that usher for all of them? How do I know that you're not allowed to eat a chicken egg that's beginning to develop? Titania, kol hasheretz, hasheretz al. By the way, same lav. Not just usher, same lav. So you'll get lashes, pashtus, for eating any underdeveloped embryo, whether it's a sheretz, whether it's an eagle, whether it's a chicken, because it's kol hasheretz ala. Let's go to the next page. That if you have a kosher chicken that begins to develop into an embryo, but it didn't open its eyes yet, so it's not roy for shchita, and you eat it, you're over the same lav. So it's the same exact lav on all forms of embryonic stages. So what's the point of telling me that it's a sheretz? It's that nafkamin? It's all aser. So says the Gemara, midirabanan across machdabalma. No, it's not actually aser deraisa. Eating a chicken embryo is not actually aser deraisa. It's a derabanan, and Chazal just put it on this pasuk. It's not actually aser deraisa. Meaning until it's no, it's nothing. It's kosher min haTorah. Until it's roy to have shchita, then you have to shecht it. But before that stage, it's actually mutter min haTorah. So when it says kol hasheretz haaretz, the reason why it's relevant is because if it's a snake, you'll be over lashes, embryonic snake. But if it's an embryonic chicken, it's actually allowed min haTorah. Chazal aser. Okay, fine, but min haTorah. Technically, it's mutter min haTorah as an embryo. Min haTorah. Chazal aser. Yeah, kosher birds. Now the Gemara says one of the most famous concepts. Taner Rabbanan. Now, actually, this first line is I don't understand this fully. But giulei be'im mutarim. If you cook a non-kosher egg in the same with a shell in the same water as a kosher egg, it's fine. So you say, why is it fine? The non-kosher flavor is pumping out. Rashi says the non-kosher flavor that comes off of eggs is maya ba'alma. It's merely water. So it's batal b'roif. I don't understand exactly what that means. Generally, the concern of why you need shishim is flavor. So he's saying there's no flavor by eggs in a shell. It says it's mayim ba'alma. I don't. Okay. Well, that's fair. Then the Brisa says the following: Be'im muzares. If you have unfertilized eggs, which is our eggs, which is an egg that did not come from a rooster, it will never develop into an embryo. Nafesh yafa teichlam. As long as you're not squeamish, you could eat it. What does it mean not squeamish? So Rashi says, even if there's blood that develops over there, technically min haTorah, the entire egg is allowed. Even the blood. Midirabana, we remove the blood. But it's technically allowed. Why? Because the isser of blood on a blood spot on the egg is not really the blood spot. It's more of a concern that was a sign of an embryo that was developing that died. Unfertilized, and that's why midirabanan you have to throw out the entire egg, not just the blood spot, because the blood spot is megala, is a siman that the entire thing was an embryo. But on an unfertilized egg, you could even eat the blood. We throw the blood, marisayan, we get rid of the blood. But that's why the whole checking for eggs nowadays is not as much of a chiyuv as it used to be, because it used to be dealing with fertilized eggs. You had to check. Over here, it's unfertilized eggs. So it's, the blood spot itself is marisayan, pashtus. Maybe the rabbanon that was chayshish that it came out from the chicken's insides, but it's yeah. I don't know why. To me, it's fertilized, unfertilized. But okay, I'll look into it. I'll check. So it just. I don't know, maybe it's more common, I don't know. So the Gemara then says, but now go back to a fertilized egg. If you find a blood spot, you just have to get rid of the blood, you can eat the rest. I just told you got rid of the whole thing. So the Gemara clarifies. The only time you could eat the rest of the egg and just discard the blood spot on a fertilized egg is if you find the blood on the kesher of the egg. That's where basically the zera of the rooster begins to develop. So if there's a blood spot on that sinewy part, then you just discard of that because that's a sign that it didn't develop into embryo. But if the blood spot is found on the yolk, then that's a sign that the entire thing is an embryo. The Gemara speaks out. Tani taisva avu derav aputriki lo yishanu shenimtza chelva inshallah avnimtza chelma inshallah. If you find the blood spot on the yolk, afil bei asura, the entire egg is asur. My time out the shad the tichel bekula. That's a sign the entire thing is corrupted, meaning the entire thing was an embryo that died. So the first version is it's only okay to discard the blood spot if it's found on the white, on the sinewy part. Actually, originally it was taught by the opposite. That originally they taught that it was only a problem if it's on the yolk, but not on the sinewy part. And Abaye flipped it. So in other words, you have two different versions of when is it okay to discard the blood spot. Either on the yolk, not on the white, or on the white, not the yolk. Because of this, we're machmer, and we say, okay, Amar Chizkiya, just to finish up the daf. Minayin lebeyes tameyash yasur min haTorah. How do I know the egg of a non-kosher bird is asur min haTorah? It's not a bird yet. Maybe the Torah only asurs non-kosher birds. Maybe the eggs that come off of non-kosher birds is technically allowed. Interesting. So how do you know that it's asur min haTorah? So it says the Gemara, Shnemar ves bas hayana. A yana they translate in article as ostrich. Bas hayana. Now, there's two versions of what is bas hayana. Either it could be there's a species of ostrich called the bas hayana, or bas hayana is the daughter. Now, birds don't have daughters. What do they have? Eggs. So the pasuk is saying the bas hayana is aser, i.e. the egg, an ostrich egg is aser. Says the Gemara, bas hayana b'chi bas yeshlana. Do ostriches have daughters? That's a reference to the egg. Because bas hayana cannot mean anything else. It says in the Gemara, maybe there's a species of ostrich called the bas hayana. The Gemara says, that can't be. Bas amil achzar keyanem bamidbar. I know that the term ostrich is the yana, not the bas hayana. Why? Meaning maybe the term for ostrich is bas hayana. Can't be. Because the pasuk says that the daughter of Klal Yisrael became cruel like ostriches in the desert. So you see, yana doesn't call it a bas hayana. So you see the term for the species is yana. Says the Gemara, V'loi, v'oksiv esa mispeit katanim ve'evel kivnois yana. But isn't there a pasuk that says that they became like more, they were mourning over their children like benois yana? So that's the children of yana. So you see that benois yana refers to yana's eggs. And I don't understand what's the pshat of the pasuk. That they were mourning over it like the eggs. It must be there's a species of ostrich called benois yana. Says the Gemara, no. It means that they were mourning over their an ostrich mourns over a broken egg. Says the Gemara, but there's another pasuk says that they dwelled like benos yana. So you see the benos yana is the name of the species. The Gemara says no, like an ostrich that dwells with its babies.
Isn't it strange though?
Yeah, I don't know. Interesting.
So you would argue to say
Yeah. I don't know. But says the Gemara, "V'oksiv tichabdeini chayis asada tanim ubenos yana." The pasuk says, "The beasts of the field will honor me," and the tanim, which are a type of behema, ubenos yana. So you see, benos yana is a species. V'isal g'daitach beya, and if it's referring to beya bas ma'amir shira, the pasuk is saying that all of the animals will sing shira to Hashem, like the benos yana. Eggs don't sing shira. So it must be benos yana is a reference to the species. So what's the source that eggs are aser? Says the Gemara, "Elksiv hayana, uksiv bas yana." The answer is throughout Tanakh you find the ostrich being called the yana, and sometimes you've had it called the bas yana. How do you know when it's a reference to the egg, and how do you know when it's a reference to the ostrich itself? Shani hacha the posak sifra l'shtei tevis. The reason why I know over here it's an egg is because it's two words. It's not one long word bas yana. It's bas space yana. That means the egg of a yana. And the Torah is saying is that it's asr, because if it was taka, the name of the species, it would be one long word. Here's the problem. Umid the pasuklu safra bitarti tevis shmamina treshemisinu. Every time you have two words in the pasuk, that means it's two separate names. Meaning it can't be the name of the species. It's bas yana because it's bas space yana. But isn't there a pasuk that says Kedar la'omer? Kedar la'omer was a person, and yet the pasuk separates it into two words: Kedar space la'omer. So you see that one name can be in 2 words. Chaya Sar. That was. You can tell her she got a shout out. Chaya Sar. It's 2. No, she's just like a hyphen or something. So anyway. The pasuk, I don't know, whatever she does, whatever I thought, she's getting upset. The pasuk betray. Wait, you're telling me that the source that it's a reference to eggs and not the ostrich because it says bas kama yana, but it says kedar kama loimer and it's one word, it's one name. So maybe bas yana is one name of a species. So it says the Gemara Amri Hasam b'shtei tevis pasuk lu b'shnei shitim le pasuk lu. The answer is, the reason why I know it's 2 separate words and it's not the name of an ostrich is not because it's 2 words. It's 2 words and it's allowed to be on 2 separate lines of the Sefer Torah. It could be bas and you could do the next line yana. That's how I know it's 2 separate words. What is 2 separate words? The ostriches, children, i.e. eggs, are asam in Torah. Kedar la'omer, it's 2 words, but it must be on the same line. Anytime it's allowed to be on 2 separate lines, that means it's 2 separate words. I will stop here.